what policies they believe in. Everybody's trying to pick a winner instead of trying to have their will expressed. And I don't know when that happened. I think maybe it was the Reagan era. But ever since then, the Democratic voter has led with their head and never their heart. And the only time they led with their heart was in 2008, which was since Reagan. And that was their best performance. Now, Obama was a fucking loser and a charlatan. But he wasn't the safe choice. He wasn't the safe choice, according to those logics, right? He was the exciting choice. He believed, he had the soaring rhetoric, but he had the heart of a neoliberal clown. And the pundit brain is what's killing us. I don't want to hear your analysis on who you think's going to win. I want to hear your analysis on what you believe is going to make your life better, what policies and what your problems are. I want you to vote for people that are going to address those issues, not to vote for people who you think might appeal to some demographic somewhere. Everyone has marketing brain. Everyone has pundit brain. It is so fucking frustrating. So fucking frustrating. I don't know what to do. Unlikable centrists aren't actually electable. It's flawed reasoning because nobody wants a centrist wet noodle. Oh no, that's absolutely true. But they're told that by television news, so they listen to it. Why do you think we have Joe Biden as our president? Because people were excited for Joe Biden? He had no crowds. Nobody cared about him. People were told to vote for him because he was the electable one. That's why. Because we couldn't risk it. You can't pick a risky candidate because what do you want? The Republicans to win? They're crazy. And beating Republicans was the number one priority, not policies. And now you're seeing what that looks like, Chad. Now you're seeing what it's like to have a president who doesn't actually represent a movement, who doesn't actually care about policies.
Ends the extremes of
we could have had Bernie. We could have had Bernie, Chad.
Determine our direction, right? They've been the gatekeepers. The bulk of the American public is in the middle. The bulk of the American public.
Liberals are the type of people who can't decide how to turn in a T intersection, so they just maintain speed and drive directly into a tree. Well, that's the description of American politics today, yes.
Doesn't want ideology. What they actually want is solutions. They actually want the same things Black Americans want, which is for people, families, and communities to be resourced. So that's first, is we, the majority, truly the majority of the American people, have to set the narrative. We, as Black Americans, as well as white Americans, Asian Americans, Latino Americans, all voting Americans, really need to say that it is no longer acceptable that you can determine your party orientation and decide based on that alone which segments of the American population you're going to choose to neglect. The challenge, the new paradigm is we're all going to eat. And if you're a Republican or if you're a Democrat, how are you going to ensure specific redress to specific folks, Black Americans being the ones that we're talking about tonight, to ensure that we can all thrive? That has not been the narrative. I know that is similar to what Democrats have talked about, but we aren't seeing that translated into Black communities, are we? So even they aren't there yet.
So how do we convince Black voters to do this? I mean, I'm just thinking about, again, a practical context. And you're talking to somebody who's been a member of the Green Party for 2 decades. So I'm not here caping for the Democrats. I'm just trying to make sort of think through how we can convince voters of this. Let's say in the 2020 election, right? Let's say we're in a state like Ohio, Virginia, Pennsylvania, where there was a legitimate chance that a particular member of the House or the Senate could have won, or in the governor's house, right? They could have won on the Democrat side and the Republican side. And let's say that the Republican makes a more persuasive argument. Let's say in Georgia, for example, the Republican had made a more persuasive argument than Raphael Warnock. And you say, well, look, he has Black interests at heart, or she has Black interests at heart more than this Democratic candidate. And Black people decide to put their weight behind the Republican candidate in that case, or the third party.
Okay, it's never going to be a Republican. The Republican Party is the white identity party in America. The one unifying feature of the Republican Party is that it represents white identity. Minorities who want to have white identity will vote for Republicans, or minorities who desire to curry favor with white identity will vote for Republicans. And that's it. Okay? That's it. And as more and more Latino Americans identify as white, they're going to vote more and more Republican, which is another of my many predictions that have come true. Man, I've been making that one for like 6 years. Damn, I'm good.
Candidate in that case. I get the logic of saying we're going to set the example, but then you lose control of the